So what do you think of what Tony said?
Well, I'm going to leave most of the fundamental analysis to Tony, and I think that it's fair to say that the short thesis is well distributed at this point. Basically, a lot of competition coming in. Tesla makes great cars, but it's the electric vehicle market is becoming more mature, and you have Porsche, Audi, Jaguar, a lot of others coming in with great products, competitive prices, and therefore the market share that they'll have in the EV space is going to be less, and the valuation is excessive. So I subscribe to that. The odds of a deal, though, I'm going to put at 25%, not 50-50, which is sort of a common go-to odds making in risk arbitrage. And the reason I'm at 25% is twofold. Number one is it's extremely unconventional in the means by which this quote-unquote going private transaction has been broached. You have this odd release from Tesla today from individual members rather than the company or the full board discussing an opening of a discussion on going private, no discussion of how secured or unsecured the financing is, and it really looks like Elon called his buddies on the board and said, put something out and cover me. So that's very odd. And then number two is there's a lot of money that needs to be raised here, and I don't think it's going to be an LBO. I doubt banks would lend to this. There's just not the cash flow to support that kind of a transaction. But he has to get a lot more than 10 cents in the Saudi private investment fund to put up what I would guess is $30-40 billion to pay the 420 for those who don't want to roll their public equity into private equity of an SPV.
Well, I mean, the shorts have been so hammered in this name. I'm so curious as to why in the world, Robert, you would want to get into that scrum now.
You know, it's been something that's kept me small in this thing, and I've probably shorted Tesla 10 times in the last few years. I've lost money, I don't know, 7 out of 10 times. Very small positions, but I've been waiting for an opportunity to take a reasonably large position, and yesterday's event was really it. I believe it was driven primarily by a desire to squeeze the shorts. Ever since Patrick Byrne in Overstock, I can't remember another CEO so obsessed with the shorts. And like Jim Chano said, I think the short position in Tesla is the stock's greatest asset. I don't think that the shorts are trying to get people not to buy Tesla cars, or they're saying that the cars are horrible. If the stock were trading for $50 or $60 per share, you probably have almost no shorts in Tesla. It's really a valuation call for most people, and this was just the time for me to join it.
Robert, it's Joe. What's the likelihood, traditional funding obviously is baffling to all of us, what's the likelihood that there's a tech giant, whether it be Apple or Alphabet, that could be involved here or might be interested by going private on the part of Tesla and get actively involved?
I think very high. Very high, actually.
Yeah.
I'm at 25% on a deal happening, but the only reason I'm at 25 rather than 5 is that Elon is very connected in the Valley, and we're in this boom, internet boom. The NASDAQ is where it is, and you have companies trading for 70 times EBITDA that are growing maybe 20% on the top line, and it's the kind of environment where you could get some funny money thrown at this. I did take some solace in my short position that the Saudis were investing because they don't have all that much success in the desert investing into these glamour stocks at the peaks of markets. There's a long track record for Middle Eastern investors being drawn into shiny objects when they should be shattering them.
Even though this is an equity investment by the Saudis and not like a cash infusion, so to speak, don't you in some respect read the whole thing as, maybe it's Mohammed bin Salman saying to Elon Musk, I got your back? I mean, you know what I mean?
I do think he has his back. Anyone that thinks it's a coincidence that somehow the FT got this leak on the Saudis right before Elon Musk tweets "Good morning," sort of pinching the bears a little bit, and then the 420 number, it has to be kidding themselves. This is definitely a coordinated situation. I believe that driving the shorts insane is a major driver behind it. And I do want to focus on the 420 number for a moment. It's really a random number, unless it's some kind of joke related to the 420 insignia for marijuana, which is a whole other discussion. But the 420 thing is really random. Like, why 420? Why not 400 or 500? And look, I've been engaged in risk arbitrage for 3 decades. I don't believe I've ever seen something so preliminary where the supposed sponsor for going private actually has a price set up before you've even dealt with the board on negotiating the price. It's really random. I think the 420 number was thrown out there so that the stock would become anchored to a really big number and sort of hold the stock up with that gigantic number hanging over the heads of the shorts.
Just for the record, too, Tony Sacconaghi said less than 50-50 chance, not exactly 50-50. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page there. And I have another question from someone on my panel right now as well, Jim Lebenthal.
Hey, Robert, I want to paint a scenario and I want to get your response to it, because I think what Elon's done here is painted himself into a corner. If this deal doesn't go through, the following happens in my eyes, and I want to hear what you say. First off, the lawsuits go bananas, okay? So there's all sorts of settlements, insurance deductibles, insurance costs that go higher. That hurts the profitability.
You're saying he's put himself into a box.
Yeah, but let me explain why, and I want to hear Robert's position on this, because even after that, then you've still got a company that probably needs to raise cash, and now he's put himself in the position of manipulating the stock market, putting out this news, not following through on it, gets a high price, issues shares. If this deal doesn't go through, given that scenario, is there any way that he can stay in charge? Does this board just completely abdicate its fiduciary responsibility and let him continue?
You know, with all due respect to your thoughts and some of the shorts with whom I've spoken, I think you kind of got to push the legal thing to the side. I know the laws really well on disclosure and the use of tweet. There's the Netflix precedent, as I'm sure you're all aware, and I don't think it's that big of a deal. What he did was unconventional. Should it have been done through an 8K or discussed briefly during the conference call by the company or a real press release from the company as a whole? Yes, absolutely. I think that's, particularly for a transaction this size, it should have been done that way. But I don't think that the legal side of this is going to play more than a minor role in how this thing plays out short, medium, and long term.